welcome to my very depressing podcast where I talk about some very depressing things. And today, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about what I think is the most depressing of things, climate change. So, climate change, to me, I think is incredibly depressing, and it's a very big problem in today's society. There's a lot of reasons for climate change, and it all has to do with us humans, pretty much. I mean, yes, there's the argument saying, climate change is nothing, it was going to happen inevitably, it's just we sped it up. Well, yeah, that's the problem, is that we sped it up. It could have happened, we could be in this stage of the Earth, like 300 million years from now. But instead, we decided to speed up climate change very significantly, and now it's happening today. What are those things that we have done to speed it up? Well, one of the big things that I like to talk about is the National Highway Act in the United States of 1956. Because, cars is probably one of the bigger things. Car culture is probably one of the biggest things, I think, with climate change. Obviously, there's also factories and all this other stuff, but I think car culture, because, if we had stuff, because if everyone just used public transportation, if, barely anybody even had cars, only the people that were, the richest of rich, if only billionaires could have cars, I feel like climate change would not be as big of an issue. The amount of people that have cars are emitting carbon emissions into the atmosphere every single day is insane. So, car culture is my number one thing of how I think climate change is being affected is cars, I think. And then you can say that we can go to electric cars. Electric cars are great and all. But the biggest thing is, where are we getting that electricity? Because another big part of climate change and how we are affecting it is with the ways that we are producing energy with coal, natural gas, things such as that. So if we are getting the electricity for these electric cars from coal or natural gas or something along the lines of that, then that is not any better than just using gas cars. So really, if we're going to use electric cars, we have to completely switch our power grid to solar or some renewable energy source, And what depresses me even more is that there is no completely clean energy source. Solar power, there's always a downside to every single power source. Solar power, you need batteries for the solar panels, and the solar batteries emits a lot of carbon emissions into the atmosphere when they are being made. So you have to use the solar panels for 20 years to even for it to even be worth your while, and for the solar panels to actually be doing more good than bad, than the alternative of coal or something, and then also solar panels only last 25 years, so I'm only getting 5 years worth of your time. As that 5 years of those solar panels, that's actually better than natural gas or coal. So there's no good solution to climate change. The only real good solution is to go back to the caveman days and not use any electricity at all. Not emit any, so that we don't emit any carbon fumes into the atmosphere. But obviously we can't do that. We can't just revert ourselves back in time. That's impossible, because there's 8 million of us, and we've already built all these houses and all these factories and all this stuff and all this infrastructure. We can just not use it. There isn't even not enough caves anymore because we've destroyed them all with our infrastructure. Well, that's one of the things. Mostly, it's just if we made all this progress, we can't just revert all the progress. But there's no good solution other than just revert everything to back how it used to be, caveman. But, we can't do that. We don't have to go all the way back to caveman, but, like hunter-gatherer, I think hunter-gatherer life is actually pretty good to some extent. I mean, the lifetime was not very good back then, because if you didn't catch anything or didn't find any food, then you just died. Like, you had to find food in a day, or you just didn't eat anything. If you went a certain amount of days without finding anything to eat, you just died. That's kind of depressing, too. So really, just life is depressing. There's no, there's no perfect life, that's for sure. I think I'm kind of getting off topic here. So to talk about climate change, which I guess this is kind of climate change, but I've never really done a podcast before, so if you like this style of podcast where I'm just rambling on about a bunch of random stuff that could possibly depress you, then thank you, and keep listening, I guess. But yeah, climate change is incredibly depressing. There's not really an easy solution to solving it. I mean, you think, just completely switch your power grid to solar or something renewable, and go fully electric cars, but that doesn't work. But I think what truly depresses me about climate change is just the amount of people who just don't care about it, They, the amount of people that just say, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's gonna happen eventually, and we don't need to do anything about it, because whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't really care. That's what depresses me even more, because it's like, I want to ski, and in who knows, 5 years from now, there may not be any skiing in Maine, which is where I live. Don't come find me or anything, but, I live in Maine, and I love skiing, but, because of this climate change stuff, I may not be able to ski in Maine in 5 years if this climate change keeps going the way it does. So I want to figure out I want to figure out how we can prevent climate change from getting even worse, but that's so difficult. And then also, I see all these commercials, these Honda commercials, where they're saying, we're trying to be carbon neutral by 2050. Yeah, carbon neutral is great, and by 2050, yeah, great. But at this point, we are so far down the climate change hole, if you will, that, just being carbon neutral doesn't even do anything. Because then we just stay at this awful state of terrible climate change. We're not getting any better. Yeah, I want to be carbon negative by 2050, or, as carbon negative as we can be, to get us out of the hole that we've already dug ourselves in. Going carbon neutral, it just stop digging the hole. But we don't get out of the hole. We just stay in the hole, not going any deeper, which is great, and it's better than keep digging the hole. But, I want to get out of the hole, personally. All this stuff is just basic logic that I don't think really people don't understand, and I hope that if you see this podcast, then you guys are now understanding all this stuff. I think I've yapped for enough in this podcast. I hope you enjoyed me just rambling on about this very depressing issue of climate change. There was no good solution to it. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.